Are you coming back to school with me? We could have done it all so easily.
Hi, my name is Craig Thompson Wood. I'm your host on Teaching with Board Games. Here today to take a look at Rory's Story Cube Actions. Now this is going to be the third and conceivably the last in my series of looking at the Rory Story Cubes. This is in response to viewers asking me for games which might help to teach with creative writing. So these are definitely something that are great with creative writing. So I started off looking at the basic set of Rory Story Cubes, then I looked at the Batman Rory Story Cubes, and now I'm looking at the Action Rory Story Cubes. And to be honest, I thought that maybe this was kind of getting close to all that there was anyways, so I thought 3 was kind of enough. But actually, in doing a little bit of digging on BoardGameGeek.com, I found out that they have listed there 37 different sets of Rory Story Cubes. So I have not even done 1/3 of the, or sorry, 1/10 of the number of story cubes that are out there. So, I mean, there's just ones like there's Voyages, there's Mystery, there's Weird, there's Prehistoric. Then you have other intellectual properties like Harry Potter, Looney Tunes, Doctor Who. I mean, there's all kinds of story cubes out there. So if you are at all interested in these, then maybe take a look at BoardGameGeek.com to see what other ones are available. Then maybe talk to your local game store to find out if they don't have them available, would they be able to order them for you? Because that's always a great way to go, like shopping locally, supporting your local store, and asking them if they can get it in for you. And I'm sure they'd be happy to do that, because then, you know, they're getting your money instead of going somewhere else. So yeah, so just make sure you, if you're, like I say, if you're at all interested, take a look at BoardGameGeek.com. In the search bar, I just typed in story cubes, and boom, I got a full list of all the Rory Story Cubes that are out there. And like I said, pretty overwhelming. All right, let's take it to the report card. For number of players, as I've said with the other ones, A+. The story cubes are limitless in terms of how many people you could be playing them with. I mean, you could be playing with yourself. You could just be rolling the dice and coming up with your own ideas on how to write a story. You could be playing with literally millions of people if you were, you know, showing on screens what dice were rolled, and everybody just has their instruments ready to start writing as soon as they see whatever dice are rolled. I mean, that is literally how many people could play, because it's all you need to be able to do is to see the dice. So as long as everybody can see them in some way, you can play with an unlimited number of people. So how can it be anything but an A+? For learning, I'm going to give the game a B. What the game does is it's different ways of structuring things in terms of getting ideas of sequencing a story, building a character, building the story, beginning, middle, end, a lot of these different things. And it's just a fun way of doing it. Again, and rather than just doing worksheets or talking out of a book or lessons, which the teacher sort of like does the blah, 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 rolling some dice, with some, obviously some introductory lessons and things, but just, it's a way to just change things up a bit. And literally change things up a bit, because you're going to be rolling dice, so it's going to be different every time. And so just, it's a fun way to do it. And even once you've used the dice in the standard way, there is all kinds of different ways to use them. There's a couple ways suggested in here, and there's also ways which people have talked about online, so you can do a little bit of research to find out different ways people are using Rory Story Cubes, because there's a lot of great ways to use them, which makes it a lot of fun for the classroom. So recommended. For fun, I'm going to give the game a B. I think, as I said before, I think it's a fun way to learn. I think the kids are going to be appreciating and enjoying this way, rather than doing, as I say, worksheets or something like that. The point is to get them writing, and this does it in a fun way. So while it's not, a super exciting game with challenges and trying to defeat other players or beat the game or anything like that, but it's a fun way. It's a gamification of the learning, and I give it the B. For time, I'm going to give the game an A+. In time, I like to consider setup and cleanup, as well as how long does it take to play the game. The game takes as long as it takes to write the story. I mean, you can, then that could be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. And for setup and cleanup, setup is just opening the box, rolling the dice, and then cleanup is putting the dice back into the box. So, I mean, it couldn't be easier. So, A+ for time. For cost, I'm going to give the game an A+. These little boxes here, I mean, this is a nice sturdy box. It has a magnetized thing here. It doesn't lift off. It opens up like that. It's magnetized here to help it stay shut, which I thought is kind of a nice touch. And the dice inside are a Bakelite, I would think, which is a very sturdy material, and they're engraved pictures. They're not just printed onto the dice like with a sticker or something, so they're not going to rub off with constant use. So the quality of the material is there. And in terms of another thing I like to consider with the cost is how much use are you going to get out of the game, because even though it's $12, you know, if you don't get a lot of use out of the game, then it kind of lowers its cost. But I think this is the kind of thing, because there's so many, like 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, you know, like with all the different possible parameters that are probably all the different possible permutations of what could come out in the dice, there's just so many different stories that could be told. And even with one roll, a bunch of people would tell different stories. So it's just so many different and then there's different ways to play it. So there's just really a lot of value in a game like this, and it is really cheap. Like I said, I got this for about $12 Canadian. So a very, very cheap game with a lot of replayability, a lot of use out of it. So A+ for sure. All right, let me take it to the table and I will show you how this game is played. So here is this set of Rory story cubes sort of laid out. And as I say, what you're going to do to start off a game is you're just going to roll them. And they suggest that what you do is you use 3 dice for the beginning, 3 dice for the middle, 3 dice for the end. And each of the dice has different actions printed on them. Like that could be crying or sweating or stressing or something like that. Jumping down would be my thought there. Knocking something over. You know, it looks like a beaker, so could it be like a chemical thing, or could it be a vase, maybe something valuable? So the idea is here that some things are purposefully a little bit vague. You know, again, like this one, is it a beaker or is it a vase? Is this person, you know, crying or screaming or sweating or what? I mean, that's for you to decide. How is it going to fit your story? You can make it whatever you want around that thing. I mean, and they even say in the rules that there is no wrong way to play it. So you're just making a story. So just have fun with it is the idea. Now, in looking at all the things, I found that all of them were fairly easy to understand what they were. Like this one, you know, a path, fork in the path, there to come some kind of decision, lifting something. Now, the only one was this one I didn't understand. So this one, like, so is it turning, I guess? But there was another one in here I wasn't quite sure of, and that's this one. So it looks like a person, like, is it a, it looks like they're painting with a blind, or maybe it's pin the tail and donkey. I'm not sure, but I mean, they're blindfolded, that's for sure. So maybe it has to do with something that's blind. Now, what they had in this one, which I liked, like in the Batman one, if you watch the Batman video, the Batman had a reference thing, and the rules didn't fit inside their box. And even though this box is the same size as the Batman one was on a larger sheet of paper that didn't fit inside. So I guess I could fold it to fit, but it just would have been nice if it did. But this one, so it has the rules in here, and it has them in different languages. And so, and then like they say here, some of the different sets: Fantasia, Mystery, Primal. Anyway, so there's different sets of story cubes you can get, is what's showing you there. And it tells you the rules here. But what it doesn't show is what all these mean. And the story cubes and the other ones, it did tell what the different symbols were. So that might have been nice, but as you know, it is like no big deal. You can, like I said, you make it work for whatever your idea is. What do you think that is, and then you use that. Now, one thing I liked is it talked about is you can do with these, the game suggestion is you take 3 dice, you roll them, and from those 3 you now create a character. So here's a character hitting someone with a bat, eating, and reaching. So this is a person who maybe they're a baseball player and they love to eat, and maybe they're always sneaking food when they shouldn't be. So maybe they're like maybe they're playing for the Blue Jays, and he's supposed to be on a more strict diet, but he's always sneaking snacks when he shouldn't be. So this is my character. He's a pro baseball player who's always sneaking snacks, even though as an athlete, he's supposed to be on a more restricted diet. So now that I have my character, now I roll my 9 dice, and then I do the beginning, the middle, and the end. Now I'm just doing these kind of thing randomly with the things. I could of course move these around and choose which ones I want where. So look at all these and decide, make my story based around my Blue Jay, who's the snack stealer. Okay, so just come up with a story, and that's it. I mean, as it says in the rules, there's really no wrong way to play. And as I've mentioned before, and I'll mention every time I mention these, there's lots of different ways to play online. So make sure you check those out, do a little research to find out ways that people have come up with great ways to use these story cubes in creative ways too. That's how you play Rory Story Cubes. So that is going to wrap it up for Rory's Story Cubes. As I mentioned during the thing, this is a great game for teaching either small groups, individuals, or large groups. So you can do so much with these things, and maybe in a center or as a class. There's just all kinds of different ways to use this. I don't think this really takes too much thought on how to. And again, there's ways that you could look up online that people are using them to, if you want some more ideas of how to do it. But definitely, you can't go wrong with this set, I think, because one, you're not paying a lot of money. Two, even though, like I say, sometimes with these games, because they're cheap, you can buy multiple copies. I mean, you could buy multiple copies of these, but really when one set can do like a whole class at once, if you're going to buy multiple copies, maybe buy sets which are different. Instead of buying several copies of the action words, buy the Batman, buy the the Harry Potter and the mystery and the prehistoric and other ones, voyages. 37 different kinds out there. You might as well try them out because they can all interact and intermingle quite easily as well, which is a great thing about them. So definitely a recommendation from me. So if you're new to the channel, then what I'm doing is I'm putting out videos on a weekly basis around topics of gamification, game-based learning, showing how we can use games in learning and gamify learning just to make the learning more fun, to encourage students to learn, encouraging ourselves to learn. And as a teacher of over 20 years experience, my whole focus of teaching has always been to teach the way I wish I was taught. I wish I'd learned through games because I would have been a much better student. And I feel that through my play of games with my students that I have seen such amazing growth and development in them that I wouldn't have seen had it not been for the gameplay. So if this sounds like something good to you, then please hit like and subscribe down below, and remember to hit that little bell icon as well so you're notified when I'm putting out my weekly videos. Sometimes I do put out videos more than once a week, so it's always good to know when new stuff does come out. And if you have any ideas for content you might like to see on the channel, if you have ideas for games, particularly, like I said, this is a viewer question about creative writing games. If you have other questions or suggestions for creative writing games, then please leave me that message in the comment section below. I will respond as soon as I'm able. And I do love to hear from the viewers as it helps me to get valid and relevant content on the channel. And that is going to wrap it up for today. Until next time, I am Craig Thompson Wood, your host on Teaching with Board Games, saying thanks for coming to the classroom.
Are you coming back to school with me?